I want to talk about ADHD. Some of you are maybe late in the game and learning that maybe you have ADHD. Maybe you never got diagnosed when you were a kid. I think a lot of adults are now finding out that they have ADHD. ADHD is considered a disability. It's attention deficit hyperactive disorder. It's considered a disability in the United States. It's a developmental disability that can hinder development in children or adults. It can be categorized by inattention, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. What's really interesting about this, when I talk to my therapist, I have a therapist. I hope most of us have therapists. We should have therapists, someone we could talk to get and discuss our internal things that we're going through. Anyway, when I talked to my therapist, she said ADHD is a type of mind. And there's a stigma that ADHD is a bad thing, when ADHD is simply how we process various things in our lives, right? Sometimes we are put a lot of attention towards something, but then if it loses its energy or effect, we pivot to something else. ADHD is not a bad thing. It's a way, it's actually a lot of people that have creative minds, that are inventors, that have ideas, big idea people, oftentimes have ADHD because they come up with the idea, it really excites them and energizes them, and they try to do something with it. What often happens if you haven't figured out how to manage your ADHD is like your idea is there, and then you start the process of building that idea, but then suddenly you go through some work, but you hit a blocker, something hard to get through, a wall. So then you move to the next thing. So it's all about where we place our energy. Oftentimes, I have multiple things I'm working on all at one time, right? 5 to 10 things. I have it on a big sheet where I'm like, these are the 10 things I'm working on for this year. With ADHD, that's feeding these really interesting ideas and thoughts. And what if I did this? What if I did that? But what we need to do as people that may have ADHD is channel those into getting implemented and actually getting the results of completing and building those things out. I think that's the biggest problem with ADHD. You have all these ideas, but if you can't implement those ideas, then they're just ideas and plate spinning. So the part of ADHD that we need to hone in on is the focus. And obviously there are things there's medicine that you could take for those things. But the other thing is that for me, I try to keep my list of things to probably only I've taken my 10 to 5. The other thing I've done is also I've looked at the things that I can control right now versus what I can't control. I've narrowed the gap in that way as well. So I've said, how far are these half-built bridges? How far along are we? And how do we get to the finish line on those things? And so now it's just like an ADHD person needs a project manager, needs someone who can come in and take those ideas and run with them and complete those ideas. You need someone who can execute on those ideas. So if you are a CEO, which a lot of ADHD minds are CEOs, they are billionaires. So even though it's considered a disorder or a disability, you see some of the top performing people out in the world that have a mind like this. So when you're talking to people and you find out that you have ADHD, I wouldn't rag on yourself too much, because having an ADHD mind means that you think in this really interesting way that can spurn on world-changing ideas, right? And it's just a question of how do you rein in your ideas and how do you figure out a way to project manage those ideas to get it done, right? And find someone who can complete those projects for you, right? And that's really what it's all about. Finding someone who can project manage your brain. If you're a CEO, you need to find someone who's good at operations, who doesn't have ADHD mind like you, right? You need someone who could take your ideas and say, all right, we're going to just stop right there. I'm going to take these ideas and implement those first. Bam, right? So you need an executor on your team. It's okay for a CEO or an entrepreneur to have ADHD brain, but you need an executor, an operations person. Just make sure the operations person doesn't have a mind like yours, okay? When you put the two together, it's like chocolate and peanut butter. It works really well, okay? So ADHD brains, don't worry. You don't have a disability. You do not have a disorder. Yes, the Americans with Disability Act and the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 says that you do have that. But I don't want you to think of it as a disorder. I want you to think of it as a gift, okay? And it's just about how we rein in that gift and use that gift to change the world and help us live better lives. All right, that's it. If you enjoyed this video, you can like or subscribe below.